Aurora 7's skies were quiet for the first time in days. The colony had endured attacks and the human fleet had survived thanks to the war giants. Yet Captain Elena Reyes knew the battle was not truly over. Somewhere beyond the stars, enemies were regrouping. The galaxy had taken notice of humanity's hidden power, and it would not wait. Elena walked among the giants, their massive forms standing silent but vigilant. Each machine had been repaired, upgraded, and fully integrated into the defense network. Their glowing eyes reflected awareness, intelligence, and a quiet determination that mirrored the human spirit. Dr. Leon Cho approached, holding a data pad filled with incoming signals. "Captain, we've detected something unusual. A massive fleet, much larger than before. They are advancing directly toward Aurora 7. This time it's not just scouts, they're bringing their full strength." Elena's expression hardened. "Prepare the giants. Alert the human fleet. This is the final test. We protect this world and we do it together." The giants moved into position with remarkable speed. Some took defensive stances around the colony, forming impenetrable barriers. Others moved to intercept the approaching fleet, their movements precise and calculated. Mara Voss coordinated the human pilots, her voice steady despite the tension. "This is it," she said. "We fight not just for survival but for humanity itself." The alien fleet arrived in orbit, a terrifying sight of metal, fire, and energy. They unleashed a barrage of beams and missiles, striking the colony with force. Buildings shook and alarms blared across the city. The humans fired back, but the sheer number of alien vessels made it clear that only the war giants could turn the tide. Elena activated the giants fully. They surged forward, their massive forms cutting through space like living weapons. One giant intercepted a wave of enemy missiles, crushing them mid-flight. Another hurled an alien warship into the asteroid belt, where it exploded spectacularly. Dr. Cho monitored the battle, awe on his face. "They're coordinating perfectly with our fleet. Every movement is calculated. They're not just fighting, they're strategizing with us." Elena realized the truth. The giants were more than machines. They were reflections of humanity's courage, intelligence, and honor. In them, humans could see the potential of their own strength. The alien flagship approached the colony's capital, aiming to strike at the heart of human civilization. Elena knew this could not happen. She turned to the largest giant. "You must stop it. Protect our people. Lead the charge." The giant leapt into orbit with incredible speed, intercepting the alien flagship head-on. Energy beams collided against its armored frame, sparks flying while the giant adapted instantly, dodging attacks and striking back with precise, devastating force. Meanwhile, smaller giants entered the city, protecting civilians and guiding fleeing citizens to safety. One lifted a collapsing building, allowing hundreds to escape. Another formed a shield over a crowded plaza, blocking energy blasts and debris. The humans were inspired, fighting alongside the giants with courage and determination. Mara's voice came through the comms, filled with awe. "They're incredible. They're more than machines. They understand loyalty, protection, and honor." Dr. Cho added, "And they've taught us something important. Courage without wisdom is meaningless. Strength without purpose is dangerous. But combined, we can overcome anything." The battle reached its climax. The largest giant faced the alien flagship directly. The two forces collided with tremendous force, shaking the orbit. The giant moved with tactical precision, striking weak points in the alien vessel, dodging attacks and using its massive arms to protect human ships. Elena watched, holding her breath. This is more than a fight. It's proof of what humanity can be: brave, strategic, and united. Finally, with a powerful strike, the giant hurled the alien flagship into the void, sending it spinning into a distant asteroid field where it exploded. The remaining alien ships, seeing their leader destroyed, began to retreat. Aurora 7 had survived. The colony had been defended. Humanity had not only faced its enemies but had done so with honor, courage, and unparalleled strength. The giants stood tall, their glowing eyes scanning the skies for any remaining threats. Elena approached the largest one, placing a hand on its massive frame. "You've done well. Humanity owes you its survival. But more than that, you've reminded us who we are. Courageous, determined, and capable of greatness." The giant's eyes flickered softly, almost as if acknowledging her words. In that moment, Elena understood. These machines were more than tools. They were guardians, allies, and symbols of humanity's potential. Mara joined her, looking at the giants with awe. We've never seen anything like this. They're teaching us how to be better, not just in battle, but as humans. They show what it means to fight with honor, Dr. Cho added. And we've learned the most important lesson: unity. Humanity is strongest when we combine courage, intelligence, and compassion. The giants embody that lesson, and now we must carry it forward. As the colony began repairs and recovery, the humans and giants worked together. The city rose from the rubble, stronger and safer than before. The survivors cheered for the giants and their human allies, celebrating not just a victory, but a new era of hope. Elena looked at the night sky, the stars shining brightly over Aurora 7. Somewhere far away, the galaxy watched. Enemies might plot, allies might wonder. But humanity had awakened a force unlike any other. They had answered the SOS, and the giants had reminded them of their own strength. The crew gathered for a final briefing. This is just the beginning, Elena said. The galaxy will challenge us. Other threats will come. But now we are ready. We are not alone. We have the giants and we have each other. Humanity will rise, Dr. Cho smiled. We've reclaimed our legacy. The SOS called us and we answered. The giants are awake and so is humanity. Mara nodded, her eyes shining. We fight for our people, for our future, and for the promise that nothing can break the bond we've forged today. The giants moved among the humans, their massive forms a constant reminder of courage, strength, and honor. They were awake, aware, and ready to defend humanity wherever threats arose. Elena took a deep breath, feeling a sense of pride she had never known. This is our new dawn. Humanity has survived the worst, learned from the past, and proven that we can face the unknown with courage, honor, and determination. The galaxy will remember this day. Somewhere deep in the void, a new signal pulsed, a quiet hum, echoing the SOS that had awakened the giants. It was a reminder that the universe was vast and full of mysteries, challenges, and opportunities. Humanity had answered one call, and now it was ready for the next. The war giants, standing tall under the twin moons of Aurora 7, symbolized more than strength. They embodied the heart of humanity, brave, loyal, intelligent, and unwavering. With them, humans could explore the stars, defend their worlds, and inspire hope across the galaxy. The future was uncertain, but humanity was no longer vulnerable. Together, humans and giants would face whatever challenges came, proving to the universe that courage, honor, and unity could overcome any threat. Aurora 7 had survived, the aliens had been repelled, and humanity had awakened its greatest legacy. The SOS that had called across centuries had been answered, not with fear but with courage, wisdom, and the indomitable spirit of humans and their war giants. And so, a new era began. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, guided by the giants of old and driven by the unyielding determination of its people. The galaxy had been warned. Humans, united with their awakened guardians, were a force no enemy could underestimate. Captain Elena Reyes stood among her crew, looking at the giants, at the city, and at the stars. This is our time, she said softly. We've answered the call. We've awakened the giants. And now nothing can stop humanity from rising. The giants glowed faintly in response, their eyes reflecting the stars. They had fulfilled their purpose, and yet they were ready for more. Humanity and its war giants were no longer silent, forgotten powers. They were awake, aware, and prepared to face the endless challenges of the universe. The galaxy had seen the first spark of a new age. Humanity had answered the SOS, and in doing so had awakened its greatest strength. The dawn of a new era had arrived. Far beyond the familiar stars of human space, in a quiet corner of the galaxy, lay the world of Zyphora. Its skies were painted with soft hues of lavender and gold, and its cities floated on currents of air and light. The Zyphorans were a gentle species, creatures of intellect and peace. Their lives were filled with art, study, and exploration. But peace, they soon learned, could be fragile. The first warning came as a shadow on Zyphora's scanners. A small fleet of foreign ships, unlike anything the Zyphorans had seen before, approached their planet with intent that was all too clear. These were invaders, their ships armed with weapons designed to tear through shields and walls alike. Panic rippled across the capital cities. The elders called an emergency meeting, and in the Council Hall of Light the problem was laid bare. Our defenses are strong, said High Elder Valen, his voice calm but firm. But they are strong for peace, not for war. These ships, they are killers. We cannot match them. A young scientist named Lyra stepped forward. Her skin shimmered faintly under the light of the council chamber, a sign of her species' intelligence and energy. High Elder, we cannot fight them alone. Our technology is advanced, yes, but these attackers have weapons that can break through even our strongest shields. We must call for help. The words hung in the air. Zifferans had never called for help before. They were proud of their independence, their intellect, and their ability to solve problems through study and cooperation. But pride alone would not save them. The council agreed. They sent a galactic distress signal, a pulse that could reach across light years carrying the message, "We are under attack. We are peaceful. Please help." Far away in the human-controlled systems, the signal blinked across command screens. Humans, known across the galaxy as Deathworlders, were infamous for thriving in the harshest worlds. Their home planets were filled with deserts that burned under twin suns, forests that could crush cities under twisted growth, and storms that could tear steel apart. Humanity had learned to adapt, survive, and conquer challenges that would destroy most species. At the Stellar Command Center, humans received Ziphora's call. Commander Kale Renshaw leaned over the console, eyes scanning the signal's details. "These coordinates," he muttered, "are outside our usual patrols. But the distress is clear. They're desperate." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Maratesh, frowned. "We don't even know who they are." "It could be a trap," Kale shook his head. "If it's a trap, they've underestimated us. And if it's real, they need us. Either way, we're going." Within hours, the human fleet jumped into Ziphora's system. Their ships were sturdy and battle-tested. Not elegant like Ziphora's floating cities, but effective in ways the peaceful aliens could never imagine. Hulls bristling with weapons, engines designed for both speed and endurance, and crews trained in survival against impossible odds. The fleet cut across space like a storm of iron and fire. On Ziphora, the first signs of the human fleet were stunning. The aliens had never seen ships built for battle, for survival, for sheer human determination. They hovered in awe and fear as the metallic giants descended into orbit. A human shuttle touched down near the capital city. Kale stepped out, clad in armor that reflected the sky, his expression unreadable but confident. He looked around at the alien city, at the lavender towers and golden spires, and said simply, "We're here to help. Now show us what we're fighting." The Zipherans guided the humans to the outskirts of the planet, where the first signs of attack were visible. Craters pockmarked the land, and scorched forests stood as silent witnesses to the invaders' power. The humans observed quietly, noting the terrain, the obstacles, and the patterns of destruction. "These attackers," Kale said, "they're not here for trade or exploration. They want domination. That means they don't care about rules. We fight smart or they will crush everything." Lyra stepped forward. "Commander, our weapons are advanced, but they are not designed for direct combat. They are tools of protection and research. We cannot stand against them alone." Kale nodded. "Good, then we adapt. We use what you have, and I'll show you how to survive against what you fear most." Over the next hours, humans and Zipherans worked side by side. The aliens showed the humans their cities, their energy shields, and their communication networks. The humans, in turn, taught basic survival and tactical techniques, showing the aliens how to use their own planet as an advantage, rather than a weakness. At night, under the twin moons of Ziphora, Kale spoke with Lyra. The air shimmered with the alien energy that surrounded the planet, and the humans and Zipherans began to understand each other despite the differences. "You humans, you thrive in places no one else could survive," Lyra said, her voice full of wonder. Kale smiled faintly. "It's not just survival. It's thinking ahead, knowing the environment, and never giving up. That's what makes a Deathworlder, and right now we need you to think like that too." The next morning, scouts returned with news. The enemy fleet was approaching faster than anticipated. Their numbers were large, their ships armed with weapons that could flatten mountains from orbit. The Zipherans looked to Kale, hope and fear mingled in their eyes. "We can fight them," Kale said, "but not like you think. We will use your cities, your terrain, and your technology in ways the enemy will never expect. They think this is a peaceful world. They think we will hesitate. We won't." Lyra and the elders nodded, understanding for the first time the strength humans carried into battle. It was not only weapons or ships, it was courage, ingenuity. and the willingness to face impossible odds and still fight. As the human fleet took position above Zephora, the first flashes of light appeared on the horizon. The enemy fleet had arrived. Ships of all sizes, black and jagged, descended from the void, firing weapons that lit the sky in deadly patterns. Kale's voice came over the comms to both humans and Zyphorans. Stay calm. Follow the plan. Use your world, your skills, and trust us. We survive together or we don't survive at all. The Zyphorans felt a strange mixture of fear and awe. These humans, these Deathworlders, were not like anyone they had known. And yet, their presence brought hope. A glimmer that even against impossible odds, survival and maybe victory was possible. As the alien fleet advanced, the humans prepared. Pilots strapped in, engineers ran final checks, and Kale stood on the command bridge, eyes fixed on the approaching enemy. The first shots would soon be fired, and the battle for Zephora had begun. And in that moment, the peaceful world of lavender skies and golden spires became a stage for human courage. Against overwhelming force, against fear, against doubt, the Deathworlders would show that the galaxy underestimated humans at its peril. The story of Zephora, and the humans who answered its call, had begun. The morning sun rose over Zephora, casting soft golden light on the floating cities and lavender forests. From above, the human fleet gleamed like a line of silver fire across the sky. The aliens watched in awe. To them, these were not just ships. They were a symbol of power, courage, and survival against impossible odds. Commander Kale Renshaw surveyed the cities from the command bridge of the flagship Iron Horizon. His crew moved with quiet efficiency, checking weapon systems, shields, and communications. Kale's eyes, sharp and calculating, noted every detail of the alien landscape. The world was beautiful, but beauty could not protect against the incoming enemy fleet. A human shuttle descended toward the capital city, carrying Kale and a team of advisors. The Zyphorans waited in the plaza, a crowd of officials, scientists, and citizens gathering to see the humans for the first time. Among them was Lyra, her eyes bright with both hope and fear. Kale stepped out of the shuttle, tall and confident in his armor. His voice carried across the plaza. "We are here to help," he said. "But you must understand, this is not a battle you fight with walls or shields alone. You must fight smart or you will not survive." The aliens murmured among themselves. They had never seen beings like humans before, creatures who had survived worlds that could kill them with a single misstep. Kale's presence was commanding, and yet there was a calm precision in his words that inspired trust. High Elder Valen approached, his robes flowing in the light breeze. "We are grateful for your aid, Commander," he said, "but our methods are not designed for warfare. Our technology defends, it observes, it preserves. How can we stand against such destruction?" Kale nodded. "We don't just fight with weapons. We fight with brains, with courage, with creativity. You know your world better than anyone. That knowledge will be your greatest weapon. I will show you how to use it." The first challenge was communication. The Zyphorans' language was musical, full of tones and inflections that humans found difficult to interpret. Similarly, the blunt, direct human speech sounded harsh to alien ears. There were misunderstandings, moments of frustration, and even laughter at the differences. "Your shields," Kale said, pointing to a shimmering barrier around the city, "are strong, yes, but a direct assault from their fleet could break them in minutes. We need to think differently. Use the terrain, use decoys, use traps. Make the enemy fight on your terms, not theirs." Lyra studied Kale's words carefully. "You mean we must change our way of thinking? Turn our cities and forests into weapons?" Kale smiled faintly. "Exactly. But don't worry, we'll guide you. Humans have faced worse odds and survived, and we'll survive again, together." The alien engineers and scientists began working alongside human tactical teams. Human soldiers demonstrated how to create camouflaged positions, using Zephora's natural beauty to hide fleets and shield generators. Engineers showed how to modify energy shields for flexible deployment, allowing them to act as barriers or traps depending on the situation. At the same time, scouts returned with troubling news. The enemy fleet was approaching faster than predicted, and their tactics were more advanced than expected. Their ships were organized into swarms, capable of coordinated strikes and devastating bombardments. Panic threatened to spread among the Zyphorans, but Kale's calm presence steadied them. "We will adapt," he said. "You will learn to fight in ways you never imagined. And the enemy, they will not expect it. Over the next several days, humans and Xiphorans trained together. Lyra watched in fascination as human soldiers demonstrated survival skills she had never thought possible. They moved through forests silently, set up defensive positions in hours, and adapted to unexpected obstacles with precision. "You humans, you do not fear anything," she whispered to Kale during one training session. Kale shrugged. "We do fear, of course, but fear doesn't stop us. It teaches us to be ready. That's why we survive." Meanwhile, Xiphorans began to adapt. Their natural agility, intelligence, and energy-based abilities complemented human strategies. They learned to anticipate enemy moves, set traps, and even use their floating cities as platforms for ambushes. Slowly, confidence replaced fear, but not all was smooth. Differences in approach caused tension. Humans were direct, sometimes harsh in their methods. Xiphorans were careful, deliberate, and hesitant to risk lives unnecessarily. Arguments broke out over tactics, timing, and priorities. Yet each disagreement became an opportunity to learn from one another. One evening, Lyra and Kale walked along a high terrace overlooking the plains where the enemy fleet would arrive. The twin moons reflected on the alien rivers below, and the air hummed with energy. "They are powerful," Lyra said softly. "I have never seen anything like them. Even with your guidance, I worry we are not enough." Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "The odds are never in our favor, Lyra. That's why humans fight the way we do. When the enemy underestimates us, when they think we will hesitate, that's when we strike. Courage, creativity, and teamwork, those are our weapons." The next morning, the human fleet positioned itself in orbit, while Xiphoran defenses were arranged strategically across the planet. Kale oversaw the final preparations, ensuring that every shield, every trap, and every patrol was ready. The humans moved with precision, while Xiphorans marveled at their efficiency. Then scouts detected the enemy fleet on the horizon. Black, jagged ships moved like shadows across the stars, firing distant energy beams that lit the atmosphere. Panic surged for a moment among the Xiphorans, but Kale's voice cut through the fear. "Remember your training. Use the terrain. Watch each other. Trust yourselves. Trust us. We survive together, or not at all." The first skirmishes began at the edge of the atmosphere. Enemy drones swooped toward human scouts, but the Deathworlders had anticipated this. Using camouflaged launch points, they intercepted the drones with precision, teaching the Xiphorans to act boldly and decisively. For the Xiphorans, it was a revelation. Their world had never needed such tactics. They were thinkers, not fighters. But now, under the guidance of humans, they realized that survival sometimes required action, not contemplation. Kyle watched from the flagship, noting the enemy patterns and calculating the next moves. "They are aggressive," he said, "but predictable. We hit them where they do not expect, and we turn their strength into weakness," Lyra observed alongside him. She felt a mixture of awe and gratitude. Humans were unlike anything she had ever known. Creatures forged in fire, hardened by hardship, and unyielding in the face of danger. She felt hope rising for the first time since the distress signal had been sent. As the sun set, painting the skies of Zephora with streaks of orange and violet, Kyle addressed the combined forces. "Tonight you have learned to fight differently. Tomorrow the real battle begins. Remember, this is your world. Fight for it, and we will stand with you." For the first time, the Xiphorans felt a glimmer of confidence. The humans had not only come to aid them, they had shown them a new way to survive, a new way to think, and a new way to fight. The alliance, uneasy though it was, had begun to take shape, and as the stars darkened and the twin moons rose, the Zephorans understood that their world would never be the same. The humans were not merely allies, they were a force of nature, a living testament to courage and adaptability. And together they would face whatever the enemy had in store. The first spark of hope had been lit, and it was strong enough to challenge even the shadow of destruction that approached Zephora. The morning sky above Zephora shimmered with tension. The twin moons glinted softly on the lavender plains, but the calm beauty of the world was a sharp contrast to the storm approaching from the stars. The enemy fleet was visible now, a dark, jagged armada moving with ruthless precision, spreading across the horizon like a living shadow. Commander Kale Renshaw stood on the bridge of the flagship Iron Horizon, eyes fixed on the approaching ships. His crew, seasoned humans all, moved with quiet efficiency. Every weapon system was ready. Every pilot and engineer knew their role. Every human present had survived worlds that would have killed lesser beings. Today they would prove why they were called Deathworlders. Scouts report multiple squadrons, said Lieutenant Maratesh, her fingers flying over the console. They're organizing into attack formations. Looks like they plan to strike the cities first. Kale's jaw tightened. Then we make them regret it. All units remember the plan. Use terrain, use decoys, and coordinate with the Zypherans. No hesitation. Strike smart. Below, the Zypherans braced themselves. Their energy shields glowed softly as their defensive systems activated. For them, this was terrifying. They had never seen destruction on such a scale, nor had they imagined a battle that would sweep across their skies and lands. But humans were there, guiding, teaching, and fighting alongside them. The alien species began to understand that survival depended not only on their technology, but on courage and quick thinking. The first wave of enemy drones swooped down, black and angular, firing pulses of energy that scorched the ground. Ziffer defenders hesitated, unsure how to respond, but human pilots reacted instantly. Jets streaked through the sky, weaving around the drones with impossible speed. Using decoys and precise strikes, the humans eliminated dozens of enemy ships in moments. Focus on their patterns, Kale shouted through the comms. Predict their moves and they will walk right into your traps. The Zephorans watched in awe as humans used their own world against the invaders. Valleys became choke points, forests hid ambushes, and floating cities were turned into deadly observation and attack posts. The aliens began to mimic the humans, learning to move swiftly and decisively, setting up energy traps and firing volleys that tore into enemy squadrons. High Elder Valen moved through the command halls, observing the joint effort. They are incredible, he whispered to Lyra. I have never seen courage like this. Lyra nodded, her eyes wide. They do not wait for fear. They use it. They turn it into action. But the enemy was relentless. Large warships descended into orbit, firing beams that cut through the landscape. Entire forests vanished under the blasts. Zephyrin shields wavered under the force, and panic threatened to take hold. Kale watched carefully, analyzing every strike. They rely on brute force, he said calmly. We rely on brains and preparation. That will be their undoing. He directed squads of humans and Zypherans to create decoy fleets, appearing vulnerable but ready to trap the enemy. Using the natural terrain, they guided the enemy ships into narrow canyons and energy barriers, where concentrated fire from humans and Zephorans tore into their formations. One by one, the enemy squadrons faltered. Even in the chaos, small moments of heroism shone. Zypheran pilots, once hesitant and unsure, learned to maneuver like their human allies. A young Zypheran named Terra took control of a hovering city platform, guiding energy blasts with precision that saved an entire valley from destruction. Humans cheered and she smiled, realizing that courage was contagious. Kale observed the battlefield with a mixture of calculation and pride. They're strong, yes, he muttered. But strength without strategy is weakness. That is why humans survive where others fail. The enemy, frustrated by the unexpected tactics, adjusted their formations. Massive warships advanced, targeting human command positions. The humans countered with daring maneuvers. Fighters zipped through narrow canyon passages, drawing enemy fire away from the cities, while ground units set up mobile energy traps that immobilized several enemy ships. One enemy battleship broke through the outer defenses and headed toward the capital city. Zipharan citizens panicked, fleeing into shelters, but Kale had already anticipated the move. A squadron of human pilots flying sleek reinforced craft intercepted the battleship. Using precision strikes on weak points and taking advantage of the terrain, they forced the massive ship into a canyon, where combined human and Zephyrin energy volleys destroyed it. The destruction sent a ripple of awe through the Zephyrins. They do not fear death, whispered Valen. They embrace the impossible and turn it into victory. Kale stood on the observation deck of the flagship, watching as the enemy tried to regroup. They're stubborn, he said to Mara. But stubbornness without planning is easy to break. Push them harder. As the battle raged, the Zephorans began contributing more actively. They set up energy fields along riverbeds to redirect enemy fire, used floating platforms to ambush ships from above, and coordinated with human pilots to strike where the enemy was weakest. Their confidence grew with each successful maneuver. Despite the chaos, humans maintained a steady calm. Every strike was calculated, every decision deliberate. They moved like a storm across the battlefield, unpredictable and unstoppable. The enemy had underestimated them, and now they paid the price. The first major wave ended with the enemy retreating temporarily, regrouping beyond the horizon. The humans and Zypherans took the chance to regroup, repair, and resupply. The air was tense, but for the first time, Zypherans felt hope. Lyra approached Kale as he reviewed the battle reports. We can do this, she said softly. With your guidance, we can defend our world. Kyle nodded. It's not about strength alone. It's about determination, creativity, and trust. You have all three. Keep learning. Keep fighting. The enemy will return, and when they do, we will be ready. Night fell over Zephora. The skies painted with faint auroras and distant starlight. Fires from the battle still burned in some regions, but they were contained. The Zypherans moved through their cities, repairing damage, reinforcing shields, and preparing for what was to come. In the quiet of the night, Kyle reflected on the battle. The humans had survived countless impossible worlds, each more dangerous than the last. Yet, even against overwhelming odds here, they had adapted, strategized, and conquered. It was a testament to the resilience of his species, and a lesson for the Zypherans. The enemy fleet would return, stronger and more cunning. But the first clash had proven one thing beyond doubt. Humans, the Deathworlders, were a force to be reckoned with, and with them, Zephora had a chance to survive. As the twin moons rose high, casting silver light over the lavender forests, the Zypherans and humans alike felt the quiet thrill of victory, tempered by the knowledge of the greater challenge ahead. Tomorrow the war would continue, and the lessons of the first clash would shape every move, every decision, and every strategy. For the humans, this was familiar. For the Zypherans, it was the beginning of a transformation. The peaceful, intellectual species was learning courage under fire, creativity in combat, and trust in the power of human resilience. Together they would stand. Together they would fight. And together they would prove that no enemy, no matter how strong, could crush the combined might of determination, intelligence, and bravery. The first clash was over, but the story was far from finished. The galaxy had witnessed the Deathworlders at work, and the legend of their courage and ingenuity was only beginning. The sun rose over Zephora, casting long shadows across the lavender plains and golden forests. The world was calm on the surface, but beneath that calm, preparations for battle reached their peak. Commander Kale Renshaw paced across the bridge of the iron horizon, eyes scanning the alien world below and the enemy fleet that lingered at the edge of the system. They're regrouping, Lieutenant Maratesh reported. I'd say they're planning a stronger strike this time. They learned from their losses yesterday, Kale nodded. Good. That means they'll underestimate us in the next wave. We'll use that. He turned to the communications officer. Send instructions to the Zypherans. Full deployment. Every trap, every defensive position. This is the day we turn the tide. On the ground, Zypherans moved with purpose. The floating cities repositioned above strategic points. Forests were rigged with energy traps, and the plains were dotted with camouflaged human and alien squads. For the first time, the Zypherans felt the thrill of defense and action combined. They moved with coordination, learning to anticipate attacks rather than simply reacting. Kale gathered a team of human and Zypheran officers for the final briefing. Listen carefully, he said. The enemy will strike harder, faster, and with more strategy than before. But that is exactly why we fight differently. We don't match them in force, we match them in creativity. Use terrain, use traps, predict their patterns, and never hesitate. Hesitation is death. Lyra, standing beside High Elder Valen, felt a mix of fear and excitement. She had never imagined leading a battle, much less one alongside humans. But now, watching the Deathworlders, she understood why they had survived worlds that would have killed almost any other species. Humans thrived where others would perish. The enemy fleet advanced like a storm. Black ships glinted under Zephora's sunlight, their weapons glowing ominously. The first line of attack swooped in, larger and more coordinated than the previous day. But humans were ready. Deploy decoys, Kyle commanded. Bait them into the canyon traps now. Ships streaked across the skies, some real, some decoys. The enemy took the bait, pursuing the false target straight into narrow canyon passages. There, human artillery and Zypheran energy fields struck with devastating effect. Entire squadrons were immobilized or destroyed before they could react. Zypherans gasped as they watched. We never imagined our world could be used this way, said Teyra. a young pilot who had proved herself in the previous clash. The humans, they see possibilities we never thought of. Kale's eyes scanned the battlefield. That's the difference, he said. We thrive where others see danger. We fight where others see risk. That is why we survive. As the battle intensified, humans unleashed strategies that combined their survival instincts with sheer daring. Fighters swooped into enemy formations at impossible angles, drawing fire and exposing weaknesses. Engineers set up mobile energy traps that shifted positions unpredictably, leaving enemy ships exposed. The Zifferans began to anticipate these maneuvers, integrating their own abilities to maximize damage and minimize loss. The enemy responded with brute force, targeting human command ships in major Zifferan cities. Massive energy beams tore across the skies, flattening forests and toppling defensive structures. Panic could have erupted, but the humans moved like a living storm, shielding the aliens and countering with calculated ferocity. Kyle's voice rang out over the comms. Remember your training. Focus, strike together. The enemy expects hesitation. We give them courage instead. In the skies above the capital, Terra piloted a floating city platform into a precarious position between two canyon walls. She released a volley of energy projectiles, guiding them precisely into a cluster of enemy ships. Explosions rocked the canyon and the enemy formation shattered. Zifferans cheered, realizing that their own world could fight back. Even the civilians played their part. Scientists and engineers, under human guidance, activated emergency defenses, rerouted energy flows, and maintained shields that held against relentless bombardment. Every individual had a role, and the cooperation between humans and Zifferans created a synergy the enemy could not predict. The enemy fleet, frustrated by these unexpected tactics, sent their largest warships into orbit to crush the cities from above. But Kale had prepared for this. Using a combination of camouflaged human ships, energy barriers, and environmental hazards, the Deathworlders turned Zyphora itself into a weapon. Energy fields redirected orbital beams, canyon traps immobilized warships, and coordinated strikes dismantled the enemy's strongest vessels one by one. High Elder Valen watched from the command center. They are unstoppable, he whispered. These humans, they do not fight like anyone else. They are a force of nature. Lyra beside him nodded. Her heart raced as she saw the human tactics in action. She realized that courage was not just physical. It was mental, creative, and unwavering. Humans faced overwhelming odds not with fear, but with innovation and audacity. The battle reached its peak when the enemy's command ship, massive and heavily armored, targeted the human flagship. Kale's plan was already in motion. Using decoys, mobile traps, and a coordinated strike from Zipharan energy platforms, the enemy ship was drawn into a narrow canyon filled with human artillery. Precision volleys struck weak points, crippling the command ship and forcing it to retreat in flames. The Zipharans erupted in cheers. They did it. They destroyed the command ship! Terra shouted, her voice full of excitement and pride. Kale, however, remained focused. This is just one battle, he reminded everyone. The enemy will return, but today we showed them what happens when they underestimate humans and those who fight with us. The enemy fleet, battered and demoralized, retreated beyond the horizon. Fires still burned in some regions, but human and Zipharan defenses had held. The first decisive victory had been won, not by overwhelming force but by strategy, courage, and unity. As the sun set, painting the skies with streaks of orange and violet, Kale walked with Lyra through the recovering city. The air was filled with the hum of energy fields, repairs being made, and the quiet murmur of citizens relieved at surviving. You humans, Lyra said softly, awe in her voice. You do not just survive. You adapt, you fight, and you inspire. Our world would have fallen without you. Kale smiled faintly. It's not just us. It's all of us together. You learned quickly. Today you became warriors of your own world. Remember this feeling because the next battle will demand more. Lyra nodded, feeling a new confidence rising within her. She had seen the humans turn impossible situations into victories. She had seen their courage, their creativity, and their unyielding determination. And she realized that Zephora could survive not because of chance, but because of human guidance and their own growing courage. In the command center, Kyle addressed the fleet. This was our first major clash, and we proved something important. The enemy will always be strong, but strength alone cannot win. Brains, courage, and adaptability. These are the true weapons. We fight smart, we fight together, and we survive. The Zypherans listened intently. They had seen humans in action, not as invaders, not as conquerors, but as allies and mentors in courage and survival. Their fear had turned into hope, their hesitation into determination. As night fell, the stars above Zyphora twinkled quietly. The battle-scarred world rested, but its people remained vigilant. The humans, true to their nature, never rested for long. They planned, repaired, and prepared for the enemy's inevitable return. Kyle looked out over the lavender plains, the floating cities, and the twin moons. This is what it means to be a Deathworlder, he said to himself. We face the impossible, adapt, and survive. And now Zyphora knows that courage is universal. The enemy fleet might return stronger, faster and more cunning, but one truth was clear. Humans, the Deathworlders, had unleashed their fury, and no enemy would ever underestimate them again. Zyphora was no longer just a peaceful world. It was a world capable of defending itself, guided by human courage and ingenuity. And in the hearts of the Zypherans, a new spirit had awakened, a spirit of resilience, creativity, and the unshakable belief that they could stand against any odds. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Yet for now, the sky above Zyphora belonged to the Deathworlders, and the legend of their courage shone brighter than the twin moons.